Hi guys, from Tbilisi, Georgia. I'm back here, and in this video I want to talk about the political climate. When I was traveling in Europe, I received many comments from you like you will return to a completely different country, it's dangerous for you, and today I want to comment on that, and we will walk around Tbilisi and see what is happening here. So let's go. So, in October, there were parliamentary elections, and the party that is considered pro-Russian won, and this caused large protests. The opposition refused to take their mandate. So, who is the Georgian Dream? This party is ruled by Bedzina Ivanishvili, an oligarch who made his fortune in Russia. This party is pro-Russian, but here's the trick. Georgian Dream tries to attract pro-European Georgians by pretending to be pro-European themselves. You can see that their logo slightly looks like the European Union logo, but on their terms. Here's their motto: with dignity and victory striving to Europe. And how symbolical is that? A poor stray dog at the backdrop of the Georgian Dream Party. Are they going to solve the problem of these animals? I don't think. And that's so sad. But it's not even all. Georgian Dream actually became notoriously famous for another campaign ads comparing Ukrainian destroyed cities and Georgian peaceful and lively cities. There was inscription "No to war" and "Peace in Georgia." And the Ukrainian government replied to this saying that it's unacceptable, and I also think that it's so disrespectful to the victims, to Ukrainians who died in that war already. And apparently it worked for some people, because one of the main arguments of the Georgian Dream Party is that the opposition wants to drag Georgia into war, and the Georgian Dream are the only ones who will keep good relationships with Russia. I feel disgusted that my country is something you can only scare people with. Georgian Dream doesn't say, look, Russia can offer us this and that. No, they rely on fear and the threat of invasion. The Georgian Dream Party got about 30% in Tbilisi and other big cities, while it got more support in remote villages, probably because propaganda worked there better and there were more opportunities for falsifications. It is also well known that this party brought people from villages to their rallies in the city center. These are so-called budget workers, so it's people who work in governmental organizations or in schools, and they cannot refuse going to that rally. And this practice is very similar to what happens in Russia. Another Russian-style initiative by Georgian Dream is the Foreign Agent Law. It restricts civil society and stigmatizes different organizations. There were massive protests, and the opposition called it the Russian law. This summer, they passed another law about traditional values, targeting so-called LGBT propaganda. As a lesbian, this is deeply sad for me, because studies show that such policies increase hate crimes, but I still think that I'm more or less okay here. But what I'm worried about is that I bought this bag in Europe, and I'm afraid now to carry it in the streets. What if some insane person attacks me from behind or throws a brick at me? It's heartbreaking, because there is a big queer community in Georgia. Queer people exist here. It's not some satanic Western invention. Policies like these are dangerous because targeting specific groups like queer people sets the stage for broader repressions of other groups. On this bus stop, I found this poster. It's called "Take It Back," and here it says that the elections were rigged and people were threatened by the war and losing their jobs. Also, there is a Facebook group, but of course it's not the only opposition think. Right now I'm standing next to the parliament where the demonstrations are going on, and I saw a group of protesters and even managed to interview them. Yes, I'm shocked myself.
We are a political entity of the United National Movement. We took part in the parliamentary elections, and we believe that these elections were falsified by the ruling party, and we demand honest and fair elections. At the same time, we demand that a full investigation be conducted. The election campaign was also unfair. Not all entities had fair conditions for participation. And we demand that there be fair conditions for everyone.
So you think that the majority of Georgians support European values and want to join the European Union?
Of course, most Georgians want to join the European Union. Western values are very important to us. Our party preaches European values, but with the preservation of Georgian identity. That is, for us, Russianism is. We emphasize that we are not talking about ethnic Russians here. We are talking about the ideology of the so-called Russianism, which occupied our territories, which destroyed our fellow citizens, and which today also interferes, and through its protégés, Georgian Dream, does not give our people the opportunity to make the right choice. By the way, European integration and the movement towards the West are written into our Constitution, and on an ideological level, fighting this with all sorts of dirty methods is unacceptable for us.
This is one of the many demonstrations or rallies that are happening here. And there, above the porch, there is an inscription about the elections. A lot of European Union flags, and also there is a new action announced by the opposition. They have black dots. And such rallies have been happening for several weeks already. It's good that people at least have this opportunity now and can protest. And I hope that they will achieve something. Now I want to share my story with Georgia, how I found myself in this country. So I moved here 2 years ago from Russia, escaping the political regime there. It sounds cheesy, but basically this is truth. And I found asylum here, but at the same time, the political climate here is tough as well, and especially regarding Russians, because you know Russia is occupying Georgian territories. There was the 2008 war, and there's a lot of bad stuff, and this results in inscriptions and graffitis like this, like Russians go home. And here it's funny because don't these people who write this understand that if I go home I will go to jail, like there is no other option. So it is a very unique situation because I am a citizen of a country that colonized Georgia, and now I'm here exploring all these decolonization tendencies. Also, I used to have a lot of stereotypes about Georgia because in Russia there's xenophobia, well, to non-Slavic people and particularly to people from the Caucasus, and I also had my prejudice and stereotypes, and I just knew very little about this country. But when I came here, I was so surprised. I thought that it's a normal country, like they have everything that any country does, and I also started learning the language. I interacted with not only touristy things, and I went to like a Georgian electronics store or to a hospital, and it was very refreshing and educational for me. And so also I was surprised how developed and pro-Western progressive Georgia is compared to other post-Soviet countries. In the fall of 2022, I was surprised that I'm free to protest here. I went to Russian anti-war rallies, and there were a lot of them. And also Georgia has higher positions than Russia in the rating of press freedom. Also, they have an amazing e-government system. You can make almost all documents in just one place, the House of Justice. This all is the result of reforms by Georgian President Mikhail Saakashvili. He built strong institutions and now they still work, although we don't know for how long they will continue working because they might get weaker. The power will concentrate in the hands of just one man, Zina Ivanishvili, and there is a big threat to Georgian democracy. So this is how I saw Georgia compared to Russia, but after my European trip I made some more new conclusions about this country. Firstly, in the United States, every state is speaking the same language, it's one country, but in Europe there are so many different countries and each of them has their own language. And when I returned here, I felt so easy imagining Georgia in a row with these European countries. So Georgia has everything. It has its own language, its history and culture and people, like all the infrastructure. And it has so much potential for the Euro integration. And interesting fact, young people here speak very good English. I don't know why, maybe because many of them are bilingual or even trilingual from their childhood, or maybe also because movies here are shown in English with Georgian captions. Well, there are movies in Georgian as well, but the fact that it's shown in English, it's very cool. But of course, there are many problems rooted in the Soviet past, and mostly it's poverty and, well, lack of human rights still. And another problem is stray animals like this dog. This is what stood out for me after I returned from Europe, because there I didn't see any stray cats or dogs, but here in Georgia there are many of them. And yes, at first sight it seems that it's cute, you can pet them, they are nice mostly, they can be dangerous too. But actually it is so shameful, like it shouldn't be like this. Why doesn't the government fund programs for these animals? Like, I feel that with the more European values here, animals will be taken care of as well. So to conclude, I'd say that I'm sorry that this is happening to Georgia and that my country caused this, and I wish Russia was using soft power like culture and language programs instead of intimidating other countries. And well, as for me, I think that I'm fine because I'm still this privileged expat. I have this YouTube channel as my job and nothing changes for me, but for local people it does, because their opportunity to travel to Europe visa-free is threatened. There might be like more repressions and so on, and the Georgian people are concerned about the long-term development of their country. And for me there are a few reasons that would push me out of the country. First, if SWIFT is cut off and there is no opportunity to send or receive money from YouTube and so on. Another thing is my safety. If I will be threatened by, I don't know, some pro-Russian activists, I don't think that there is any threat from the Georgian government, because again, I'm not a big figure for them, because I'm not a prominent opposition speaker, and I don't know to what extent I should be worrying making this video, because obviously I'm putting myself in the spotlight, so how terrible it is to be afraid of just making a YouTube video. And the third reason I would leave Georgia is if I will not be let at the customs, because there is a common thing when Russian citizens are prohibited from entering the country when they go to another country and then return to Georgia. And this happens both to Russian political activists and just regular people, so you never know. And this is very unstable to realize that it's risky to travel out of Georgia. And if this happens, I will go to Serbia, because this is the only opportunity for me that doesn't require any visa. So this was my video. Write your opinion in the comments. What do you think about all these authoritarian tendencies, not only in Georgia? Like this video, support my channel by the Patreon or YouTube sponsorship. Links below. And goodbye. Пока-пока.